everybody. Welcome back to the High Roller Sports Betting Podcast with Coach and T here. Today we're going to talk a little NFL football. NFL for me is really fun. I really enjoy having money on the line on Sundays and watching teams play and really analyzing the games. And it just makes watching an NFL game, that experience, just that much more pleasurable. And I think it can be very profitable to you as well. And what T and I are going to talk about today is really some of the preseason numbers that we see of teams that are going to win the division, or what their odds are to win the division, and some overall over and under numbers for their win totals as well. I think there is some value out there that you can find, but once again, these are areas where you really want to shop lines, don't you, T?
Yeah, absolutely.
You really want to check your casinos out, see which ones are giving you the best lines possible so that you can maximize your profits on this, because it is an area where you will see a lot of difference from casino. Well, you won't see a big difference, but you will find some difference from casino to casino. And a little bit about how I break things down. I do my own power rankings. I do each team, and what I really take into consideration, I think some of the big factors. Number one, quarterback. Quarterback in the NFL is a lot. You're just not going to win ball games in the NFL if you don't have a quarterback that can flat out play. Another thing I take into considerations are the offensive and defensive line. Well, I take overall talent into consideration. In today's game, I really feel it's, do you have a quarterback? Can you protect the quarterback? Can you get after the quarterback? And I think everything else falls into play. Coaching staffs and their continuity with the front office, I think, comes into play as well. But I've seen great quarterbacks. Tom Brady throughout the years has had good talent at his pass catching spots. But, it was James White who set Super Bowl records when they played in the Super Bowl and came back on Atlanta. So I've seen, good NFL players become great NFL players, especially when they got the right play caller and the right coach. D, a little breakdown on how you break things down. Just kind of hit the high points.
So I do it a little bit differently. Some of the things that I really take into consideration, I agree with the quarterback, O-line, D-line being very important in the NFL. One of the things that you always hear is you can't handicap turnovers, and while that's true, to me, because so many games in the NFL are decided by one score or around one score,
Yep.
If you turn the ball over and you have players who are more likely to turn the ball over,
Yep.
that's something I take into account. Another one, penalties. And a lot of that goes back to like coaching staff and discipline
Yep.
and stuff like that. But if you're a highly penalized offense, penalties just kill drives.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's tough to put up those points if every time you go on a drive, all of a sudden there's a hold, 10-yard penalty. Now you're 1st and 20 instead of 1st and 10 or 2nd and 6 or 7 if you run the ball. But then skill position I think is important. But I think, to your point, the quarterback can really make the wide receiver group.
Yeah.
The O-line can really help with all that as well, because if you give a quarterback time, a lot of these guys are talented. I mean, and we'll get into it, Justin Fields in Chicago is talented, but he's always running for his life.
Yeah.
That leads to him having more interceptions than touchdowns.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And we'll get into each one of those areas specific. Well, get into more detail as we go along with this podcast. On to the NFC South, where this is kind of the shocker that I'm going to bring to the table. I know you want to call me Coach Chalk at different times, but this is the area where I think, and this is predicated on what I have seen in the preseason for injuries. This has really downgraded the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in my mind. Couple things. Tom Brady's 11-day hiatus that he got before the season to do personal things.
Or try to get wasn't he trying to go to Miami? Wasn't it the whole
Yeah,
thing with tampering?
and then he was trying to force his way to Miami. I just don't. What's made Tom Brady special is he has been all football all the time. He's 100%, 110% in. He's getting other guys to follow along with him. And when you look at Tom Brady, greatest accomplishments of any football player of all time, it's not even close. But why he gets there is his preparation and his dedication. And when you don't have that, when you're not bringing that to the table, does Tom Brady have elite arm talent? No, not at 45. Is he an elite athlete? No, doesn't have it. He's elite.
He can't run for 1 yard up the middle. He's the best quarterback of all time.
That's true. Whereas he's elite is reading what the defense is going to do pre-snap.
He's seen it.
But when you are going to face pressure right up the gut all year long, when you're going to have to beat an Aaron Donald, when you're going to have to beat the Packers Kenny Clark and Jaron Reed and sending both and in the A and B gap, your inside middle linebackers, and you are just going to face pressure after pressure after pressure.
Tom Brady can't get away from
Tom Brady can't get away from it. They're in trouble. And I don't care about what anybody wants to tell me about Trask. He is not Tom Brady. No. So that being said, I think the Bucs take a step back. I actually like their under. You couple all that, and now I have heard that there are hamstring issues with Mike Evans. You add all those things together, and Mike Evans may be pulling a veteran move and getting a soft tissue injury, so he doesn't have to go through preseason.
Something to keep an eye on.
I get that, but yeah, I would keep an eye on it. I like their win total under 11.5. They may sneak into the playoffs, but I don't think they win the division. Give me the New Orleans Saints with Thomas coming back and wanting to prove something. Mm-hmm. They've added that kid at wide receiver, the rookie at wide receiver, and I forget him off the top of my head. And Jameis Winston, even though can be Jameis Winston,
hurt right now.
Yeah, they still have Andy Dalton as a backup, who I think can win games. I think Andy Dalton is by far. He'd be a middle of the road quarterback, top of the middle, towards the 20 marker as a starting quarterback, but somebody who can win games for you. They've still got Kamara. Their defense I really love.
Is elite.
Their defense is elite.
Yeah, somebody's got to block Cameron
even though you got the change at the coaching position. I like the New Orleans Saints. Because you also got to change at the coaching position with the Buccaneers. So all that influx, I like that. And this is just another division where I think you got two haves and two have-nots. I think the Falcons and the Panthers are both in a quandary. Baker Mayfield, good luck. I don't know when he's going to implode during the year. And the Falcons, I really like Marcus Mariota as a human being. I've heard a lot of quality things about him. Yeah, I think he can be serviceable, but I think you got two teams that once again they're in the C.J. Stroud lottery. So with that, give me the Saints. Give me plus 350 to win it. Give me the Saints over at 8.5 because I do think they win more than half their games. That's just how I see it. T, what are you thinking about the AFC South here?
I would agree to an extent. I think the Saints at plus 350 isn't a bad look. I'm not going to make that play. I think the Buccaneers still win this division. It is a little concerning with their injury issues that they've run into. I mean, it happens every year. It sucks that, losing Ryan Jensen is a big loss.
Yeah. Huge.
It's a big loss.
Yeah.
We'll see how the system would change. I don't envision it changing all that much. I still think they're going to air it out. I know there was the Leonard Fournette when he came back into camp was a little overweight.
Seems to be in good shape now, though.
I know there was talk about that, but they're not a huge running team anyway. No. They had the 26th ranked rushing offense last year, but they had the number 2 total offense. They were the number 1 team through the air at over 300 yards per game. So they're gonna air it out.
Yeah.
They're gonna live and die with Tom Brady's decision making, and if, as you pointed out, with that pressure coming right up the middle, Tom Brady's one of those guys that if you pressure him, he's just gonna go down.
Yeah.
Because he can't. No offense to him athletically, he can't get out of the way.
Yeah.
Like he folds.
Yeah.
Which again, that's a lot better than forcing a throw that results in a turnover, or anything like that. But I do think Tampa Bay will take a little bit of a step back. I don't see them on that same level as the Packers or the Rams in the NFC.
Yeah.
I think they could get there at the end of the year potentially. If the O-line meshes, we'll see what they do at center, because not only did they lose Jensen, the guy who's going to replace Ryan Jensen at center is out for the year.
Out for
So
it's tough. Yeah.
And
tough.
then they had another O-lineman that got dinged in training camp, I know, but he should be fine. The Saints, their defense is they're good.
Yep.
We'll see how that plays out. I'm not a huge Andy Dalton guy. I am higher on Jameis Winston because I think one of the big knocks against Jameis is the turnovers. Well, a lot of those turnovers were in garbage time. They didn't matter.
Yeah.
So he's just forcing throws because they're getting blown out.
Yeah.
And he's just throwing, and those turnovers happened.
Yeah.
The Falcons got rid of Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
And he was the face.
He's been the face of the franchise for a while.
So,
and when you get rid of the face of the franchise, you might as well stamp rebuild right across your helmet.
And then the Panthers have two guys that could be starting at quarterback. I mean, you trade for Sam Darnold and then trade for Baker Mayfield, and you have both of them on your roster right now.
Yeah. If you got two, you got zero.
I mean,
that's the old
Baker,
adage.
I think is gonna be that guy. He's gonna be their starting quarterback.
Yeah.
But if Christian McCaffrey ain't gonna be healthy, it doesn't matter who's at quarterback for the Panthers. They're not gonna win games.
Yeah, I would agree.